This is quite emotional.
Okay,
There you
so
go.
look at that.
Perfect. Enough of the talking, let's do some of the walking now.
Oh yeah.
Buon pomeriggio, and that is Italian for good afternoon in case you're wondering. I've been meaning to cook a moussaka. Moussaka is a great Greek dish, but I'm Italian. So I have decided to combine a typical Italian dish with a typical Greek dish. So I'll be making a moussaka lasagna or lasagna moussaka today, but I want to make it very creamy and cheesy, so I will be using slightly different ingredients for both recipes. And instead of using the mince from the lamb, I will be using cubes so that it's got more texture. And let's see what happens. So let's make a start and hopefully it will turn out okay. I've got 3 medium-sized aubergines in front of me, and I'll start with them, and I'm gonna chop them moussaka style. So I'll go into round circles of 1 centimeter thick each slice. My aubergines I've filled a couple of trays which I've lined up with some baking paper, and using a brush I'm now drizzling a little olive oil on top of each piece. I'm also adding a little salt to ensure that they sweat some of the water when they cook. And I'll pop these in the oven at 200 degrees for 20 minutes until they're golden brown on top. Time to move into strictly lasagna territory, and I'll make a soffritto. So I'll start with my stick of celery, which I'll chop into little pieces, followed by a medium-sized onion, which I'm actually chopping into very small pieces. I'm choosing a red onion because they tend to be my preference, but you can also use a white one. My eyes are beginning to water. The last ingredient for soffritto is a carrot. And look, I've actually just picked these from Julie's garden. They're still dirty, so I'm just gonna give them a quick wash and then I will add them to the soffritto. And they are so lovely and tender, I'm not gonna bother even peeling them. But I will just remove these bits at the bottom and obviously the top. And I'll chop them into little circles. Of course, you do not need carrots from Julie's garden. You can buy one and you can peel it as well if you wish. Heat is on and I'm adding a little oil in a frying pan. I'll just check to see if the oil is hot enough, and yeah, it's sizzling, so it's good. And I can now add my soffritto mix. And I'll give it a quick stir to ensure that all of my vegetables have got some oil. A couple of medium-sized cloves of garlic, I'll crush them with the skin and I put them in as well. This is a little mild chili pepper. I will remove the top or bottom, whatever. And I'm just removing all of the seeds. Although it is a mild chili, Julie is not very keen on very spicy food, so by removing the seeds I will make it less spicy. And I'll chop into little pieces and add it to the rest. So back to grease, and here is my chopped lamb, but as the chunks are a little bit bigger than what I want them to be, I'm chopping them a little bit further with my knife. Of course you can also use mince, lamb mince if you want, but I like the idea of using the diced lamb today. And I'm going back all over with my knife just to give it one more chop. 3 minutes in and my soffritto is doing really well, and I will add my chopped lamb. Temperature at the moment is on medium high, number 6 out of 9, and I'll just stir it once again until all of the lamb has got a lovely brown color. And the lamb is lovely and brown and it smells wonderful. Now I'm going to be slightly controversial because I think I should be adding red wine to go with moussaka, but I do not drink alcohol, and I've got some white wine on the go, and I do not fancy opening a bottle of red wine, so I'm going to stick with some dry white wine, a third of a glass, and I'll pour it in. The alcohol from the wine has totally evaporated, and I have to say the smell is getting better and better, and I will be adding next a tin of chopped tomatoes. These are 400 grams. This is tomato puree, and I will add a couple of tablespoons to the tin where the tomatoes came from. And I will half fill with water. A quick mix to ensure that the tomato puree is totally dissolved, and I will add it to the rest. Back to grease, dry oregano. I will put 1 small teaspoon, if I can manage it. Yeah, that'll do. Followed by 1 small teaspoon of cinnamon. 1 bay leaf. I've not put any salt until now, so I will add it next. And of course, some pepper. As soon as the sauce starts boiling again, I'll place the lid on, and I will turn it down to simmer, number 3 out of 9, for half an hour. For the first 20 minutes, I will leave the lid on, but for the last 10 minutes I will remove the lid so that it dries up a little. So I'll see you in half an hour. But that is not quite correct. I'm a little bit ahead of myself. I need to make the besciamella sauce, so I'll see you now. So this is half a liter of cold semi-skimmed milk, and I will be adding some plain flour. I will need anything between 45 and 50 grams, and then that's perfect. Pinch of salt. This is nutmeg. I will be adding only a little, quarter of a teaspoon. If you do not like nutmeg, you do not have to add it in, but if you like nutmeg, do add it in. Also, it's a common ingredient between moussaka and lasagna, and it goes. And while everything is cold, I'll just mix it together. Let's remove the scales. You will see that as the milk is cold, all of the flour, most of the flour will be absorbed very, very easily. And even if it doesn't, don't worry, as soon as you put it on the heat, it will dissolve anyway. So I'll pour the milk in a saucepan. And actually, if you look, it's all gone more or less. I'll move my sauce to the back so you get to see better. My hob is on maximum, but I will mix it continuously until it starts boiling, and it will turn into a lovely creamy besciamella sauce. And there it is. If you look carefully, it's beginning to thicken up, and the odd little bubble is beginning to come up as well. There it is, that was one. And as soon as it starts bubbling, I'll mix it again for another 15 to 20 seconds while it's on the hob. At this point, I will remove it, and I'll mix it for a further 30 seconds without any heat underneath. And that is perfect. Look, with a spoon, nice and thick and lovely and creamy as well. Now this is a little tip which actually my mum taught me, and she did it for years. Every time she used to make a besciamella sauce, so I'm going to replicate it. I'm going to add a quarter of some lemon rind, without the lemon of course. I'll put it inside it, and I'll bear it of course, give it a little mix. And I'll place the lid on, and I'll leave it to marinate, as well as getting that flavor from the lemon zest in the besciamella. Also will stop that film from being formed, so that will be lovely once we get to use it with the lasagna. 30 minutes on and the sauce is ready, and if you look, it's got a lovely reddish color, and actually let's remove this, and it smells very nice. My aubergines are also done, and they've been cooling down for a while now, and I was telling you before, they've got a lovely golden color on top. Some of them are a little bit white, but doesn't matter, they're cooked, and they will cook further when the lasagna moussaka goes in the oven. And the rest of my ingredients for fillings and so on will be some mozzarella, some ricotta, little Parmesan cheese, tomatoes, and some breadcrumbs also for the topping at the end. And of course the pasta, the lasagna, I forgot. Time to put our lasagna moussaka or moussaka lasagna together. That is very exciting. I'll start by pouring a little the sauce, just the sauce, and I don't want any meat at the very bottom of my oven dish. And I'm using some fresh lasagna today, as it is easier. And I'll put a couple of sheets at the bottom like this. Don't worry if they overlap, it's perfectly okay. And a little bit more of my sauce, but this time I will be grabbing some meat and the rest of the ingredients. Don't put too much at the base, because lasagna, you increase the fillings, the sauce, as you go up in layers. And I'm now making sure that I am very generous with my aubergines. So I'll put a layer at the bottom, a little sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. I'm randomly adding a little mozzarella next. Likewise, I'm adding some ricotta. You might have to use your fingers for this. And I'll start again. I'll repeat the same process until I run out of ingredients. So I'll see at the last layer. I'm between layers, and I mean to add, as you add your ingredients, make sure that using your spoon, you press them down very nicely and compact. So that will ensure that you can pack it in, but also when you serve it, it will stay all together. So something for you to bear in mind. And I've now reached my final layer, which is the 4th layer of pasta, and actually I'm very pleased with that. Anything between 4 and 5 layers of pasta in a lasagna is optimal. And bearing in mind that aubergines are in there as well, actually I've done quite well. I have left more sauce for the very top so that it will trickle down. And I'm pressing it down, and hopefully I'll have enough space for my besciamella sauce. And there it is. I'll just give it a quick mix and find also my lemon, which can come off. And I'm gonna be adding it on top of my moussaka lasagna next. Yet again, I've gone over the top, but I'm sure it'll be fine. That is as good as I'm gonna get it. Before it goes in the oven, I'm going to make it a little bit prettier, so I'll add some tomatoes which I've just sliced. And I'll finish it with a little sprinkle of breadcrumbs, not a lot. The reason why I'm putting this in is because they will caramelize and it will give a lovely golden crust at the end. And it is ready to go in the oven. I will be adding some basil or maybe some parsley at the end. I'll decide at the end depending on how I feel. But it will be going in just like all of my lasagnas for 35 minutes at 180 degrees fan assisted. If yours is a conventional normal oven, 200. The first 20 minutes will be covered with some tinfoil on top, assuming I manage, and the last 15 I will remove it so that they'll give that lovely golden crust I was talking to you about. So I've seen about 40 to 45 minutes. And it is ready. It has been resting for 10 minutes and I've been joined by my glamorous assistant, Julie. I've drizzled a little olive oil on top of the tomatoes and also garnished with parsley. I've decided to go for parsley instead of basil because of the lamb actually. I think lamb it complements better with parsley. And I'll finish with a little pepper at the very, very top. By the way, I left it in the oven for another 7 minutes. I'm not sure why. Maybe my oven was confused. I didn't know if it was a lasagna or a moussaka. So I wasn't ready. So I left it for another 7 minutes. See how you get on. Maybe you can have a quiet word with your oven before you put it in. Consistency wise, it feels good actually. It's not too bad. I can see that it's quite firm, but we will have to see once we get it out. We were debating if I should have cut in the middle or not. You can imagine what the answer was, the middle.
Yeah, let's not kid ourselves. We'll be having a small piece. This will need quarter each.
I cannot say this more really. Do wait 10 minutes before you cut it. It's so important because it feels much better. So do take your time. And having had a debate, we have agreed that this is the bit that we should be getting out. This is quite emotional. There you go.
Look at that.
Perfect.
Yum. Look at the inside too. Perfect little layers.
I should have mentioned at the beginning, and I didn't, I'm sorry, but I do not know if this dish exists. I'm assuming it does, I don't know really, but it is the first time I've made it, and I'm actually quite pleased with it. Also, lamb is not something that generally you would cook with pasta. It means lamb or any lamb is something that you would not use in pasta. You would use meats such as pork or beef. So this is a first. But enough of the talking, let's do some of the walking now.
Oh yeah.
Still very hot. I'm happy to walk all day long. It's delicious. The first thing that hits me actually is the moussaka-like because of the lamb and the cinnamon as well. But soon after that, and the aubergine, yes, of course. But soon after that, the lasagna actually pushes her way forward, and it's a lovely combination. I'm actually surprised out how well it has come up. The one tip I can give you though is do not go mad with the lamb. I only put 300 grams. I didn't want to be too meaty, too lamby, and 300 grams is just the perfect quantity. Unless you're making a moussaka, of course, but I wasn't making a moussaka. So wonderful. I wish I could just share it with you. It's so delicious. The smell is amazing, and but we will have to eat it by ourselves this time round.
What a shame.
Unless, of course, you make it. Buon appetito, arrivederci and grazie. Ciao.